Welcome to More Faith with Keisha. My first name is Keisha and my last name is Moore. And on this channel, we talk all things faith, most things faith. I love to give my faith testimonies to motivate, inspire, and encourage you to keep the faith. I do have a published book, which you can purchase from my website, morefaithwithkeisha.com. And the title of this book is Testimonies of a Faithful God. And in the book, I give 13 personal testimonies of how God has been faithful in my life. If you are struggling in the area of faith, I really believe that the book will encourage and inspire you to have faith in every area of your life and also keep the faith in God. All right, so today I want to talk about a time in my life when God protected me and I didn't even know I needed protection. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started in this story. So I was probably around 18, 19 years old. I was living in Van Nuys, California with my grandmother who raised me, one of my brothers who's like a year and a half younger than me, and probably two of my uncles. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. I used to share rooms with my grandma, and my uncle and brother shared one room, and my other uncle slept on the couch in the living room, right? So my brother, and I'm not gonna say his name, but he was like always getting in trouble, always getting into altercations with people in the building and people in the neighborhood. And it didn't always just affect him. It also affected the people in the household, in the family, which is me, my grandmother, because, retaliation. Some of it could have been gang related. I don't know the details because he was always getting in trouble. I kind of kept my distance and I didn't really hang out with my brother a lot during that time in my life when I was like 18 or 19 years old. The reason I was raised by my grandmother because my mom, she often, went to jail and she would get out for a few years and then sometimes she would go back. So I was, raised by my grandmother most of my life. And during this time, again, 18, 19 years old, my mom went to jail. But not only did she go to jail, when she went to jail, she was actually pregnant. And she found out she was going to have a baby girl. My grandmother and I decided that once my mom had the baby while she was in jail, we would share the responsibilities of taking care of my little sister. But as soon as my mom had the baby, the jail, they give you 24 hours to go and pick up the baby. If you don't pick up the baby within 24 hours, they would put the baby in a foster home or send the baby off to adoption or something like that. I don't know the full details of it because it was a long time ago. So I remember my mom calling home. She was just nervous, like, make sure you guys are ready. Make sure you have a car. Make sure, just making sure because she didn't want, my little sister to get taken away and she would probably never see her. And we didn't want my little sister to get taken away. So we did what we had to do as a family to make sure we set ourselves up. So when my sister was born, we would have a way to go get her. So my grandmother, my mom, she makes the call, tell my grandmother she has the baby, like come pick her up. And it was like an 8-hour drive, I believe. So my grandma and my aunt went to the jailhouse. I forgot. I think it was Chachilla or something like that in California. Drove, picked up my sister. And when my grandma brought my little sister home, she was like the cutest little baby. She had like straight curly hair, little nice caramel skin, kind of light. But she was just like the cutest little baby I ever seen in my life. She was so cute. And so, we developed a bond. She was like my little daughter. I was like 18, 19. I was like probably 18. And it was like, oh, like this is my little daughter. When I would take her places, I would tell people like, this is my daughter. And so this is going to all make sense. So again, my brother's in the home, doing his thing in the neighborhood, causing ruckus. Every morning, I would get up at the same time, go to the living room in the same spot, call my friend on the phone who lived down the street from me, and we would talk for like hours. Back in the day, there were cell phones. In 23 years ago, there were cell phones, but cell phones wasn't as popular as it is now. So we had a landline, which is a phone in the home that we used to use. And I remember I would just, sit in that same spot every morning, hold my little sister. She was a baby, and just talk on the phone, gossiping. I was a teenager, gossiping about work, gossiping about, everybody else's business with my friend. Same spot, same time every morning. So one morning, I don't know what it was, but I slept in, and I never used to sleep in that late. And I just remember like, man, waking up late, like, dang, like I ain't never slept in this late. And so my little system was, out of place. I wasn't in the same spot, same time that I normally am, right? So I remember I get up and I go in the living room. And when I go in the living room, I see little pieces of glass on the floor. And I'm looking like, where did this glass come from? So I put some shoes on, or I don't know if it was slippers or something, because I didn't want to step on glass, because I had no idea what happened or where the glass came from. It was just me home alone with my baby sister. So I'm looking on the floor and I'm trying to figure out where this glass came from. And when, as I'm looking on the floor, I see a big, like, rock brick on the ground. And I'm thinking, how did this brick, rock, or whatever it is, how did it get on the ground? Where did it come from? I'm still not connecting, like somebody threw something in through the window. So I'm looking around trying to figure out what's going on. And then I look on the couch and you can see pieces of glass on the same spot where I normally sit every morning and talk on the phone holding my baby sister, right? But that morning I slept in. So I opened the blinds and I look, and there was a hole in the window. Someone threw a brick or rock, let's just say brick. Someone threw a brick through the window. Now, here's the thing. God protected me, and I didn't even know I needed protection. And the reason I say this, because I didn't know, I knew my brother was always getting into trouble, but you don't know the details of what's going on or whatever. And I didn't know that he had previously, like the week before, had a fight with some people, in the neighborhood. And they knew where we lived, and they were retaliating by throwing, I guess, a brick through the window. Had I not slept in that morning, I would have been sitting in that spot, and that brick would have hit me in the head or would have hit my baby sister. So I know it was the grace of God that I actually slept in that day, and I didn't wake up at the same time that I normally do. And I remember just walking around the house, just being in shock, just, thinking, what if my baby sister was hit? What if I was hit? That brick could have, either killed me, paralyzed me, busted my head. It could have killed my sister, because she was a baby. She was like only a few months, old. And God protected me. And I just thank God that although all of everything or whatever it is that was going on around me, he kept me asleep. He kept me asleep a little bit longer that particular morning. And I was protected and my sister was protected. And just even growing up, it was just like that same sibling. It was like every time it was an issue, like I said, it wouldn't only affect him, it would affect us, the people in the house who had nothing to do with it. And some people don't care that you are not involved in gang activities, or you're not engaged in whatever it was. People don't care that you're not involved. Like, they want to retaliate, and they get pleasure out of retaliating, towards like your family members. So this is part 1. I'm going to go to part 2 in the next video next Sunday, because I upload a video every Sunday, in case you don't know, and talk about the second part of that video. In the second part of the video, I'll talk about how, the people who was after my brother basically came into the home with a gun to retaliate. And that was a situation that at that time I thought it just ruined and changed my whole life. So I'm going to end the video here and just encourage you, You know, sometimes if a situation is delayed in your life, maybe God didn't open the door for a particular reason. You may not know, not saying that it will never open, but maybe it was for a particular reason. Maybe it was a manager at the job where if God did open the door, that manager would have got you fired. I don't know. It could have been a coworker. Maybe you were stuck in traffic and you were late to work because God protected you from an accident. Maybe you didn't get approved for a certain apartment because it could have been a killer or something in the apartment. Maybe you didn't get a ride to the mall because there was a mass shooting. There's so many things that goes on in this world, and we don't even know when it's going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, we think like, dang, I could have been there, or dang, I was going to go to this place at that time, or wow, you know, you get backed up in traffic and you drive and you see a bad car accident and you don't even know. If it was like 2 minutes later, you would have been the person that was in the accident. You don't know. So that's why I always encourage people just to pray. Pray for what you see. Pray for what you don't see. Pray for what you know. Pray for what you don't know. Just pray for God's protection as you're going and as you're coming. So just know that I love you. God loves you. Keep the faith. I will see you on the next video. Bye.